Hello, everybody. I wasn't sure if we were going to make it today because my internet has been uploading at 10 megabytes per second and it's not been good. But I woke up today and it's been solid. So things seem to be back to normal. I know a lot of you guys like PRS. I don't own any PRS guitars anymore, but I got an email from the brand this morning and I had to do a double take on it because normally what they've done the last 3 years, they've made the sales on the SEs. And that makes sense because they make a billion of them and there's a lot of profit margin in those. Let's just call a spade a spade. But this year, they already kind of changed things up because they included the S2s and the bolt-ons, which I was like, whoa, that's a warning sign. They need to make some money. Today, they've included the cores, 15% off. And I was like, whoa. So obviously, it's positive news for people that like PRS guitars. It's positive news price-wise and stuff like that. But as we will get to after the initial happiness, because I want to show you some of these, because one of these guitars I saw the price of it sounds, I was just like, that's really good for a PRS. I'm like, that's really good. I don't ever see those priced this way, and it's in the new color. But yeah, perhaps a sign of tale of things to come in the future here, because it's an interesting season. It's an interesting time, 2025. Morning, Daniel. Yeah, you'll see in a second. I hope you're doing well today too, Aaron. It's exciting, isn't it? Now check this out, okay? I'm going to jump right into this. I got to show you guys. The first one, I can't wait to show you because it's my favorite of all the PRS guitars that they make. And you'll know it is because it's the one I had for the longest. That's a Core McCarty in the new Aurora Borealis. Now, that's 3427. What I like about these ones, like a lot of people complain about Zounds sometimes with, they're not going to tell you the weight. You're not going to see the actual guitar. This is the actual guitar, and that's the weight of the guitar. This color is 3427. The black gold one looks like it has the normal discount on it. That's 4030. So the only difference here is literally the finish, and this is the newer finish that has the McCarty 3 pickups in it, and it's brand new. It's not an open box. It's just brand new. So this one to me is like, okay, that's really, really, really good. And yeah, they do the no credit card like nonsense. And that whole thing is a discussion for another day, but they tell you it's 0% on places like a Guitar Center and Sweetwater. It's not. Read the fine print. You're paying 2% on that. So that's just Synchrony Bank. That's neither Guitar Center nor Sweetwater being nefarious, but that changed in June of last year. So with this, it literally is no interest, which I think is awesome. So super lightweight, my favorite model of PRS, and that price on that particular color is just that's fantastic. I'm gonna run through some of the other ones just to give you an idea what the prices are, and then we'll get to talking about them. The hollow body too. I like this guitar, 4800. I would have picked this finish, but as you're gonna see, I kind of picked it for the other 3 or 4 because I'm trying to stay away from the blues. The McCarty, a 10 top, which is what I used to have, a 594 10 top. I had it in this color, which would have been in the thumbnail here. I believe that price is wrong. That 5440, I think they're $5,600 new. So let me see what they have here for weights and stuff. And look at how much they vary in the blue. It's wild. So yeah, 7.5 pounds on each one of those. But yeah, no, I thought those are pretty cool. Well, let me see the charcoal, because if I was gonna pick one of them, it would be the charcoal. I wouldn't have to worry so much. Those are a little bit heavier, see? But that's why people want to see the weight, though, and I do like that with Sounds. They're doing that with PRS and some of the higher-end Gibsons. This is an anniversary guitar because they stopped making the McCarty 594 single cuts, so I thought this would be an interesting one to look at. I bet they're tanks. No, they're 7 pounds on the dot? That guitar has Aaron Short written all over it. Wow. Wow. Are they all like that? No. 8 pounds, 7 pounds, 14 ounces. So if you want a light one, the translucent black looks like it's going to be the way to go. And 8 pounds, 4 ounces. Yeah, so that's super light. And then the last one we'll look at here is just the DGT. Those are $4,000 now. Two of those. Those are always around 8 pounds, I feel like. Yeah, 712 and 8 pounds. Yeah, so if you like PRS, man, this is a good way. I think the deal on this one, I'm coming back to this one just for a second here, the Aurora Borealis regular McCarty. I think that one is so good. I didn't link all of them in the description, but I put that one in the description. There's only one of them because that price is really good. That price is really, really, really good. So now we'll open it up. We'll turn off the website. We'll stop just browsing, and we'll talk about it. Let me just make sure my screens are where they need to be. What do you guys think about that? It's to be expected. There's some brands where I've said for the last few years, you're almost foolish to buy them when it's not the holidays because I know they're going to go on sale. Perfect example of that is the PRS SE, but also plugins like the Neural DSP stuff. I won't pay full price for one of those because I know on Black Friday they're going to be substantially cheaper than that, and it happens every year. So just if you want one of those things, you just wait and you save your money. But the fact that cores are in it too, man, and it's the 40th anniversary of PRS, I would have thought some of those would be flying off, especially the new color. So, yeah. Before I go into the other stuff of it and what that could potentially mean, because I think anybody with a little bit of financial know-how and business know-how kind of sees what this is symbolizing here. Before we do that, though, I'll see what you guys think about these guitars. Hi, Deb. How are you? Warlock, hola. Is it the PRS acoustics as well? I don't look at those. I don't think they make any of their acoustics in the United States. I could be wrong, but I don't think they do. Cheers, Jim. You were late. You were listening to Johnny Marr. I'm sorry. We all make mistakes. What's up, Tyler? You had a P2 22 P8, so it was really great. Yep. There you go. Not my scene. Yeah, I don't have a PRS anymore. I don't have one anymore. I think they're great. The thing about guitars is you can look at a brand and say, okay, I get why people like them, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be for you. And you just have to accept it. Like, if PRS made the CE22s the way they used to, that would be a very tempting endeavor for me. But they don't. And a lot of the good ones that haven't been destroyed, they're hard to find. That's all. It is what it is. I found other stuff that it fits me and what I like a little bit better. Mostly Fender. I know. And people always get a laugh at that because I'm kind of the most critical on Fender, but I think the reason I'm the most critical on Fender is because they're my favorite and I expect more out of them. Like, I want them to be head and shoulders the best, if that makes any sense. I just have higher expectations. But when Fender nail it, man, hard to beat. Hi, Rafa, how are you? Yeah, Tyler. Yeah, I'm just not a fan. Exactly. There's a lot of guitars I don't like that everyone loves. It's why it's all subjective. But that's why, like, when I saw this PRS sell, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I know that there are people in here that love those guitars. And out of all of them, again, the McCarty is my favorite one. That purple one I had was great. 34 compared to 4,000. That's a crazy price for a brand new one of those, especially considering everything is so expensive these days. They're just so expensive. If you had logged on a week ago and you wanted to buy that same guitar, it would have been $4,600 for a brand new one, and it's under 7 pounds. To me, it's like that. It doesn't get much better than that. And that's like the PRS thing, because it is the PRS scale length on it. It's not trying to be a Gibson, and it's not trying to be a Fender. So, I don't know. If I really like the PRS thing, that would be the way I would go about it. What would be a guitar like that? I feel like introducing myself at an AA meeting. Hi all, it's been 20 months since you've gone 20 months without buying a guitar. You've done well. Stopping doing YouTube is a good thing for you. It could be a dangerous proposition, man. It's a dangerous thing when you're trying to gain traction doing YouTube. Obviously, you're not going to have backing from companies or anything like that, especially when you start, unless you're really well established. But let's be honest, that's not the norm here. Most people that are starting to do this, that want to do this, they're doing it as like their own kind of way into it, so to speak. They don't have a lot of previous experience or relationships within the industry. And the best way to do it, unfortunately, is guitars. And the easiest way is to buy cheap guitars and demo those, because guess what people love? People love those thumbnails where they write, this $400 guitar smokes my Fender custom shop, or my Gibson custom shop. People love that crap. Or I turned my $200 AliExpress guitar into a world beater. You know, nonsense. Just absolute nonsense. But you know what? That stuff gets views. Here's the problem at it, that as the content creator you're going to have, and you've probably learned this the hard way too, that the audience doesn't really think of. When you buy that guitar, even though it's cheap, it's worthless. It's worthless. You know it's not really a truly great guitar anyways, 99% of the time, and then you're stuck with it. You go to sell it, it's worth maybe a quarter of what you paid for it, so you're operating at a loss because you don't get actually paid on the ad revenue. It's a vicious cycle. So my point here is that I'm really happy you're not chasing it anymore. I'm really happy you're not. And that's part of the reason, like, I switched to really being into Zounds. Because with Zounds, I just borrow the stuff. Yeah, I don't get paid. I only get paid if you guys buy stuff from the affiliate links. And that's just the God honest truth. But it works better for me because then I can pick exactly what I want to demo. Look at some of the guitars that I've chosen over the last few months. I probably would never have paid for those out of pocket, but they're all things I was interested in, and there's a lot of the videos that were requested by people. So it's kind of the best of both worlds here. So I just love those guys. I love that this has been a big change, and I'm not putting my own money on the line. And that's great. That's great. Hopefully we'll move into a territory where maybe I start getting paid. That would be nice. Oh, man. Okay. At least you're not blind to your favorite company's faults. That's how it should be. Oh, yeah. No, I'm very... I still want them to make a real Fender Jaguar, man. That's all. That's all I want from Fender. I'm a very, very, very simple man. But they have done really well. They have done really well. I think they did a great job with the Road Warns. I love that Burgundy Miss Telly. I really do. I think that's just such a knockout. And, yeah, I think things are... there are things that they do get right. So I'll give them credit when they do, and in other times, not so much. You want to like PRS guitars, but you agree that you can't either. Yeah, I don't care what anybody plays. If you want to play even those guitars I was just talking about, like the $200 Timo guitar, so long as it doesn't say Gibson on the headstock, knowing damn well that it was made in a little sweatshop, I don't care what you do. Because that's just immoral. It is. That's just immoral. PRS pricing does drive me nuts. You appreciate their looks, their sound, and quality, but their pricing, yes, if they can offer 15 to 20% off, it tells me inflated the prices are. That's not the problem. See, you're sniffing around the problem, but that's not the problem. It's not that they can. Of course they can. They have to have that margin at the bare minimum baked in order to run at a profit here. The problem is, the reason why these guitars are being included is simple. If they were selling well, and things were going good, like great as they have been the last few years, they wouldn't do it. And this isn't a symptom or like a haha, PRS is doing bad. It's not just them. It's this entire industry, and it's all discretionary spending. Things are just down. Life's more expensive. If you got to pick between, your rent, your groceries, and all this stuff, you don't have that much left over at the end of the month. You really want to spend that on a $3,000 instrument, especially considering most people that are like watching, YouTube, guitar YouTube, you already got guitars. Can you really justify it at that point? It's a tough call. But it tells me that sales are down. That combined with, some people being laid off very recently from PRS. I don't know. To me, it seems pretty apparent. But at the end of the day here, looking at things from the positive perspective, it's good for the customer. If you wanted to buy one of these, you're talking about saving a decent amount of money here. And with a place like Zounds, you don't have to put it on a credit card. It's great. It's great. Yeah, we end up buying what we see a lot of, stepping away from YouTube, and then I could focus on other stuff. That's you made the right call, and I'm really happy that you're out playing shows and you're doing all the open mics and you're running all these events because that's so much more valuable. Yeah, you don't get people on the internet that see you as much, but community in real life is far more valuable. Talking about this sale drives my urges, even though I know I can't take advantage. Yep. Every year, a few years now, I flirt with maybe getting a PRS for about a day, look at all of them, remember what the neck feels like, and watch a gym PRS rant video. That creates my crazy thoughts. My problems with PRS are like, it's mostly the blue. The blue is what kills me with those guitars because when you look at some of those, they're gorgeous. There's no two ways about it. They're gorgeous. They look so fantastic, and they're not cheap. So when you buy a guitar that's blue and you do everything that you should do, what they tell you to do, you leave it in the case, you only play it under like this sort of lighting, you put it back in the case when you're done, and within 6 months the blue is substantially faded, that no. No. To me that's the mark of like not the best sort of materials being used, and that's something that he goes on and on about. Is that we use the best of this, the best of that. Do you? Because this has been a very ongoing thing with PRS with blue guitars. And it doesn't just count for blue. Anything that requires blue to be made. So green, purple. It's difficult. So you're taking a dice roll on that. And I'm somebody that I like having my guitars out. And then even if you take the color aside, like the McCarty 594, I think it's a fantastic instrument. But it's not a Les Paul. There's a reason why Les Paul's still here, behind me. You want that rock sound, you go to the bridge pickup, that one's going to give me what I want. Now, for somebody else, perhaps their rigs are different too. I think that's a big part of it. Because my rigs are super simple. I use either, one of these three amps. The Marshall, the Princeton, the Z. Okay? And then in front of it, obviously with the Marshall, I don't need a drive pedal. So I'm good with that. But with the Princeton and the Z, I use the Brown or the Origin effects for my drive. The only other effect I'll turn on is the Belante for a little bit of delay sometimes. I'm not running one of these like super complex rigs where I have all these effects and different effects loops and a stereo this and a stereo that. And perhaps in those situations, a guitar like the PRS with the bridge pickup that doesn't do like the Gibson thing probably does a better job of that because it retains more note definition and clarity for that sort of stuff because you just have so many effects going on. So I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. It comes down to personal preference. And personal preference for me, like I don't need all that extra stuff. So if I can just plug that Gibson into the Marshall and have a sound that like, oh, I'm happy with this. Not only does that save me money, but it makes my life easier as a player because I'm not pedal dancing. I'm not worrying about all this other stuff or 20 different wiring setups. But I'm old. I'm old school. What can I say? You picked up an S2 at the music store to play and was shocked by how much you didn't like the neck shape. But which S2? That's the thing. Because there are some PRS neck shapes I really like. I like the pattern regular a lot. Really, their best neck shape's just the pattern. Which is weird. Because they have pattern regular, pattern thin, and pattern vintage. I think they would have done a little bit better naming them differently, but I digress. The pattern regular, out of all the ones that they still make, is my favorite. The nut's a little bit narrower than the pattern vintage or the pattern thin. And it's got a decent shape to it. That's probably my favorite one. That's like what you'll find on the Bella and the CE22s. Those limited edition ones, which I don't think they're going to be limited editions. I think they're just going to go right into production next year. But the majority of them have, either the pattern thin or if you're looking at a 594, the pattern vintage. So I'd be interested to hear which one you played. I'm not getting the signature from anybody. I had to build my own signature guitar. That was a purple Mustang. You actually found Antiquity Strata beginner guitars at G4M from PMT old stock for like $50 and resisted the urge to get was really hard. Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to buy it. You got great stuff as it is, and everything you have is better than that $50 guitar. What are you going to do? You going to buy it just so you could demo it on YouTube? That's silly. That's a waste of money. Don't do it. Apparently, some guitar centers aren't taking trades because sales are down and cheap used guitars flooding the market continues to get worse. That's a fact. I can confirm that. It's not all of them, but that's absolutely a thing in some places. Guitar Center offers a really great thing for people with that. If you just don't want to deal with it, or say you just need the money now, having that peace of mind that you can drive to the Guitar Center, yeah, you're going to get nowhere near what you would get if you would sell the thing on Reverb. Actually, it's probably closer now because the market is very low. It's nice to have. But eventually, Guitar Center need to move inventory too. So they're only going to be able to take in so much stuff. And how many times have they gone bankrupt? 5? 6? How many times can you do the same thing before you learn something? So it looks like they may have learned something. You got the Lake Blue S2 Studio. You keep mine covered and don't have them exposed to light. But that's it for your guitars. Yeah, good luck with that. I like the Lake, and that color is a perfect example of what I was talking about. Like, you look at the Lake Blue finish, that's gorgeous. That is absolutely gorgeous. You know what other one is really cool? Hold on, let me see here. Let me see if this will pop up. Aha, it will pop up. Now this is a very gym color. Carol Blue. All right, that's a beautiful guitar. Like the color on that. That's so nice. The problem is, it's gonna look like that on the front. If you actually play the instrument, you go out and you take it out to gigs, you play it. Eventually, the odds are that's what's going to happen to it. There's a guy who's popular on YouTube now, and you were just talking about Guitar Center. The Donut Doctor. That guy had a I think he bought a private stock PRS. He still uses it in the videos. It was one of those like blue fades, and now it's like brown. Hold on, Donut Doctor PRS. Let me see here. Oh my God. Okay, I found the one image. I have to find the before and after. Okay, this is the same guitar. So this one right here, you see how this is natural? That's what it started as. And I think the guitar is 3 years old. 3 or 4 years old. Look at that. And that's not cheap. That's one of the semis. Yep. Yep. If you guys are familiar with football, I'm just pulling a Jose Mourinho right now because if I speak, I'm in big trouble. But people think I'm exaggerating with that. I'm not. They're very lucky that he doesn't care. I think he made one post about it. He's like, I should have read the fine print. But like he doesn't care. Like he's a just not that kind of person. Like he focuses more on like just playing and stuff like that. And I guess I don't know, it's just weird to me because clearly he picked that color, that fade, because he really liked it because it was really beautiful. And because he goes out and he plays live on the West Coast and outside sometimes. Now he has a natural guitar. Wild. You have a core 10 top that has some milk spots, but since purchased, it didn't get worse in my place, and all my other US PRSs didn't change at all. Which color? Which color are you talking about from the 97? Because some of the whale blues have held up pretty well. Some of them haven't, but some of the whale blues I've seen from that era have kept their color. So same with royal blue. That's another color that seemed to fare a little bit better outside of the milk spots. But that was another thing. They always got something going on with the finish, those guys. Milky, cloudy, fading. They play great though. You just got an email from Guitar Center. Bring in your used gear and get 15% off a new guitar. Again, it totally varies on the store, Greg. It's gonna 100% vary on the store because that could be a nationwide promotion thing, but certain stores like they have once they hit a certain level of used inventory, they're not taking anymore. Whether that's in quantity or dollar amount, they have to it's like a dealership. You have to be able to have room for it on the lot. It's common sense. Otherwise, you have too much money in. You can't just infinitely buy things as a place and have nobody buy it. Otherwise, you're just stuck with all this inventory. So in places where stuff is still moving pretty well, that'll be a good thing to take care of. But that's not how it is across the country as a whole. That color is decently close to my. Oh, you had an aqua blue? Those are gorgeous, but man, those fade like hell. Those fade like hell. Unbelievable. You have 3 cores, 2 American Silver Skies, 5 S2s, and 3 SEs, trying to sell 1 of my Silver Skies and 3 of your SEs. That's too many PRS guitars. That's too many PRS guitars. Now just think here. You're not going to like what I have to say, but it's the truth. Let me count the number here. 3, 5, 10, 13. You got 13 PRSs. You realize you just could have bought 1 Telecaster and it would have been better than all of them, right? You realize that. You're going to save a lot of money too. Tiger Flame. Oh, Tiger Flame. Oh yeah. There you go. That's a cool finish. That's a cool finish. And then McCarty Burst. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I never understood why the McCarty colors, whether it was McCarty Burst or McCarty Tobacco Sunburst, were so popular. And part of it made sense because, it's going after the Gibson thing. But another part of it is you don't got to worry about those fading. You don't got to worry about that. Even a color like gray, guess what is, you need blue to make the gray. And some of those I've seen become natural as well in various spots of the guitar. It's rough. It's rough. The email was 11/2 through 11/5. They gave you 3 days? They only gave you 3 days to do that? That's a rough one. You didn't realize the color bleaching was that bad. You have a solid rosewood neck strat that got partially bleached from the sun through the window. It's one of my favorite Ed's characters, though. That's kind of the thing here. I am not, and this is something I've said a few times here when it comes to just guitars, not just PRS, but people consider what we play expensive. Even if you look at the most expensive PRS they have, at Zounds, I think it's 10 grand. People look at that and they're like, that's exorbitant for an electric guitar, for an instrument. That's exorbitant. And I don't see it that way at all. I know what a professional instrument costs for a lot of other people. And it is well more than $10,000. Well more. The difference being is, if you talk to a professional violin player, guess what they're not going to do? More than likely, unless they're insanely rich or successful. But the average one, as opposed to the average guitarist, they're going to have 5 or 6 guitars. Right? They have one. And they treat it like gold because it is their moneymaker, because they had to invest serious money to get it. And in a way, I think that's almost a smarter way to go about it. Buy the one amazing thing that you need, invest in that. And yeah, you don't get all the sound palettes. But guess what? The classical violinist, they don't get all the sound palettes either. You have something then that is so good, you know that it's amazing, and it takes all of the other crap off your mind. You can say, you know what? I'm in, and I'm just going to be the best player I can be now. You don't have to think about it anymore. And there are other variables because obviously as guitar players, we have amps to consider. You need the newest amp, and then different pedals and all sorts of different effects things and stuff to consider. But at the end of the day here, my point is just guitars in the grand scheme of professional musical instruments are not expensive. They're just not. They're not. Get a Telly and put the virtual Jeff on it? No. No vibratos on a Telly. You don't need that. That's silly. Telly's perfect as is. You can't hide behind anything. You can't hide behind the vibrato on a Telly. You can either play a Telly or you can't. Basically just means you can either play guitar or you can't. I love them. I love them. And I saw a really good video the other day. I was doing a setup work on a guitar, and I figured I would turn something on while I was just listening to it, and I could just, do it in passing, not actually physically watch it, but, just listen. And it was Bukovic, Tommy Bukovic, and he had a Jaguar. That's why I clicked on it. I think it was a 65. And I'm listening, and he's talking about it. He's complaining about, his TV doesn't get Monday Night Football, and he's all pissed off. But once he actually finished with the guitar and he started to play it, he said something that I've been saying for years about the Jaguar. And I was like, yeah. I was like, he gets it. He gets it. But of course he does. Not only is he 80 times better as a guitar player than I am, but he's done more session work than I am. But he just echoed the sentiment that I've been trying to portray when it comes to the offsets. And part of the reason why I think the Telecaster is the best guitar of all time, I don't think it's freaking close, is because the Jaguar compared to the Jazzmaster in this instance, and what he was talking about in the video, it sits so much better in a mix naturally. Like it's just gonna cut so much easier than a Jazzmaster. It's comical the difference. The Jazzmaster, the frequencies, if you're playing with less instrumentation, it's a little bit easier to sit in. But with the Jag sits in so easy, just like a Telly does. It just cuts and it cuts and it cuts. It's so good for recording. It's so good for recording. I just wanted to mention that I saw that video. Because I know Sean, who's sometimes in here, he sent me the link. He's like, did you see this? And I was like, yes, I actually did. Don't watch a whole ton of YouTube, but I can listen to that guy play. He's a fantastic player. You feel like when you play Fender or Gibson, you're copying someone. When you play PRS, you feel like you're being yourself, not copying someone else. Well, wouldn't that come down to more what you're playing as far as you yourself? For example, if I want to play blues, if I pick up a Strat and I go to the neck pickup and I play a certain blues riff, and then I play that same exact blues riff on a Telly, and I play the same one on a Les Paul, and then, the D'Angelico, all right? At the end of the day here, there's going to be a slight variance in how it sounds, for sure. But you're going to be able to tell it's me because of my phrasing from this guy, my hand. What you play and how you physically play it, I'm talking about your technique, is going to have so much more impact on whether or not you're copying or trying to sound like somebody else than the gear that you use to get there. That's something you got to learn. And that's just the end of. That's just the end of. Now, if you prefer a certain guitar, whatever, that's your prerogative. But the copying of people and the copying of sounds and all of that, like, that's going to all be in your hands. That's going to be all in your hands. So you gotta just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it. Nothing wrong with liking new gear. Nothing wrong with buying new guitars. Nothing wrong with any of that stuff. But the rationale here, it's got to be good. A lot of concert violinists have a benefactor that actually owns the instrument and lets them borrow it. Some of them do, yeah. That's another big factor of it too. In New York City, it wasn't like that so much. Well, back then at least. Because I knew people that had to put up like everything for it. I know people that took out loans. Like auto loans. Yeah, like modern auto loans. We're not talking about auto loans when cars used to be reasonably priced. We're talking about how they're priced now. just to get like okay ones. Not okay ones. They're great, but we're not talking like a Stradivarius. Really expensive stuff. Really expensive stuff. So when people are like, oh, $1,000, $2,000, that's so much money for an instrument. It's a waste of money. Just buy the Timo or the Harley Benton. It's like, this is not that much money at all comparatively. Not that much at all. If you're trying to be a professional. Like, it's just not. Some of these instruments, man, it's no joke. Very expensive stuff. And I'm not saying that to, like, if you don't have the money to buy on it, I'm not saying it to be belittling. I don't, like, that's not my goal here. My goal is just to give you perspective on how much other professional instruments cost. Because guitars have, we have it so easy. We just get lost in the weeds because we buy so much crap. That's all. Tuning stability, their different pickups have vastly different sounds. You have 23 Fenders, 22 Gibsons, and 16 PRSs to compare. You got a vintage Jag you want to send me? I'd love that. I don't have a PRS I can send you. I'm just messing around. Yeah, coil split, whatever. Okay. I'm not a big fan of the coil splits. Not a big fan of them. But again, that's your own personal preference. So what do you guys think about this? Let me do a quick poll. I didn't do a poll today. I should have done it, but I didn't. So let's start a quick poll before. This will be a quick one today because I do want to get some work done. And I'm that guy. And my wife is now like totally the same. It's beginning of November. I'm ready to set the whole house for Christmas. I'm ready. So we're going to try and work on some of the house. And I didn't post this much this week. I didn't post anything, as a matter of fact. I filmed a lot, though. So we'll have videos starting tomorrow. 100% another video on Sunday. And guess what? That's not going to be about gear. Sunday is the start of something different. Session Sunday. We're actually going to talk about recording. I'm going to start with recording technique for this week. But I digress. Would you... What's the most you would ever spend on an electric guitar? Okay. 1,000. All right, I'm adding options here. Oh, come on. All right, you got some interesting choices here. What's the most you would ever spend on an electric guitar? And I gave the little tildes here. Around 1,000, around 2,500, around $4,000. No limit if the guitar was the right guitar. We'll see how you guys shake out here. Oh, you guys are voting fast. I like that. Keep that up. Well, I'll revisit it in a few minutes. But I look around my stuff and I just was all about like, oh man, all this money spent. I think the most out of all the guitars I own, I don't have anything I spent $3,000 on. And I got some really good stuff. Like that custom shop. That's $2,300. So that's probably the most That's probably the most I've spent. Yeah, that's the most. That's the most value-wise that I put into a guitar that I own. Is that Fender Custom Shop, $2,300. Outside of that, the Fender Japan guitar, the Jaguar, I believe that cost me $1,100. It's a good one. The Albatross, the 77 guitar, that's the best guitar I've ever bought. That was under $1,000, handmade in Nagano. Thank God that didn't say Gibson on the headstock. If that said Gibson on the headstock, and people actually could play these and see how good they were, that'd be a $10,000 guitar. That is just so absurdly incredible how good that guitar is. I've never played anything as good as that. Never, from any brand. That's the king. That is the absolute king of guitar making, the pinnacle. And yeah, and I got some other stuff. Yeah, it's just not that much. Most of them are around 1,000 to 1,500, but I buy a lot of them cleverly, so to speak, and I wait it out. I wait it out. The ones I've spent more on guitars, like I spent more on the 594 10 top, but it didn't end up sticking around now, did it? And yeah, it's very, very uncommon for me to spend that much. But I would if it was the right one. That's my perspective on it. If I had the money and I found the right one, I wouldn't mind it. It would have to be it would genuinely have to be perfect, though. It would have to be like the Jag that I was talking about in that Bukovic video. And the price would have to, I would just, that's what it would take. It would take something absolutely perfect. But I wouldn't go into, debt for it. That'd be really stupid. Oh my God, I almost got in big trouble. Okay. Let me see what you guys said. Oh, I missed a lot of comments. I apologize about that. PRS has a lot of great artists representing their guitars. They definitely have more than they used to. I think PRS have done a good job of getting out of the stereotype that the brand had in the 90s and early 2000s, because they were in a rough one for that. It was basically Santana and then nu metal. That was it. That's what people thought of as far as the average person with PRS guitars. They didn't have the diversity of artists that they have now. And they've done a good job, and especially with international artists. They've been very clever in signing certain people, like Konami. Very good. Very good. I thought that was very smart of them. And those all sold out too. Fantastic. Okay. Only time I've gone over $3,000, Mr. Django, is because of tax and shipping, but that's it. Yep. I bought guitars for that much. I've never kept them. I just haven't kept them. It is what it is. I had to work my tail off to get that Gibson. By work my tail off, I had to make tons of videos and then hope other people bought things. I didn't get it as part of a collaboration. But I did get it at a discount, and I didn't spend anything technically out of pocket for it. Okay, Greg, I think 25 grand would be your limit for your Holy Grail. I'm already surpassed the choices on the pull by double. Yeah, you're different though, and also it really is just gonna come down to the style of guitar you like and the brand that you'd be willing to spend it on. Because with the kings of this all, you look at Gibson and you look at Fender. If your thing really is you want a vintage one, you don't have a choice price wise. You're gonna pay out of your butt. The only kind of exceptions to that rule are the offsets, and that's really going to depend on the year of the offset and which offset you're looking at, and then the finish. That plays a huge part in the actual valuation. Like Mustangs, you could get one of those for less than those PRS guitars I was just showing you. First and second model years, in great shape. Totally accessible. For a vintage guitar, totally accessible. Jaguars, not so much, but still, you can get them for under 10 grand in good shape. Same for the Jazz Masters. But once you get into the golden years of the Tele and the golden years of the Strat, we're talking about very, 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 very different things, unless a lot has been changed. Pots changed, refinished, refretted. Some of the pickups are original, some aren't. You can't tell who did the refinish. There's a lot of kind of shady things. I mean, that'll always impact the price, and you might think oh, that's the normal price for a 60, 62, 61 Strat. No, it's not. Go look at one that's all original. It's just crazy. It's like the factors that are going to make a difference to some people, whereas other people are just going to want it all original. The price is going to fluctuate wildly because of those. And it's because of what you want. That's all. But with Fender and Gibson, you can get very, 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 very expensive. Okay. How often do you set up your guitars? How often do you need to adjust the neck setup, intonation, and stuff? Intonation stays pretty good. This room is climate controlled and humidity controlled. However, I adjust the truss rod I find I only need to do it about once a year on 90% of the guitars. The only ones that are a little bit more finicky are the semi-hollow body guitars, which kind of makes sense if you think about the design of them. But as a whole, I can leave like, yeah, like I haven't adjusted the neck on my vintage Telly in over a year. Same thing with my JV Strat. Same thing with my Jazzmaster. Wow, yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, the Fenders, I haven't had to adjust the truss rod in those in a bit. But I don't know. I spend the extra money to invest to make sure that the climate in this room is going to be good, and the humidity levels. That's a huge part of it, man. Because heat and cold are going to make a big impact in the setup, but humidity level is almost more important. That'll destroy a setup, and that'll actually help you warp the wood a bit. You just leave it in like a soaking wet sort of room or like a totally dried out room. That's really bad for the wood. Cause lots of warping, which you don't want to see. But typically I do it once a year. If you wanted to average here. You found a used artist package 2004 custom 22. That's very nice. 1,800 after tax and shipping, depending on whether I keep it or return it before. I'll tell you this, Django. If you're debating that, you need to go and either sell it and try and make a buck, or you need to return it. Because for what you paid for it for an artist package guitar, custom 22, that's out of production, you would know if you loved it. And you would never have typed that sentence. You'd be typing, I can't believe how great of a deal, I love this guitar. You wouldn't be typing, I have to decide if I want to return it. When you get a truly great instrument that works for you, you don't think that way. So just as a neutral third party here with no skin in the game, since you typed that, I would say, be gone with it. Doesn't matter what you paid for it. You don't love it that much. You have a different expectations and budget limits for various instruments. You have a private stock coming to me, which is insanely priced compared to anything else I have, but it's exactly what you want there. That's a huge part of it. If you can get exactly what you want, it does you so much better in the long run. And this is a trap that I feel a lot of PRS players fall into. And I think it's part of the reason why Daniel has so many PRS guitars. You want a certain one, but it's expensive. So what do? I could get the other one, and you know what? They do a good job with the budget ones. Whether it's an SE or the S2s, they do a pretty good job of getting you in the ballpark. But in the back of your head, and this is where Paul's the genius with the marketing stuff, you know it's not what you want. So what do? You buy another one. Maybe the one tier up, the S2. That's how you come to have 5 S2s. And then you say, this is definitely better than the SE, but it's still not what I want. Then you buy the core eventually, and then you're 3 guitars in when you really just wanted the core to begin with, in a lot of cases. But with a brand like that, if you know exactly what you want, and they're willing to do it for you, because not all the places have that option for you. It sounds like they should, but outside of like Gibson with the made to measures, the Fender custom shops where you're speccing it out, obviously PRS here, I believe Sir, yeah, they're still doing custom orders, but not all brands are doing that. Not all brands are doing that, nor do you have the option to do that. And if you were to really demand on it, it'd probably cost you a lot of money. It'd be a big thing. So if you can get exactly what you want, and obviously you're familiar with the brand, you spend the money once, you're done. And then you can do what I was talking about as the violin player, right? You could play it. So I think that's a good alternative way of thinking about it. And I call it alternative because that's not the way everybody looks at things. Okay. What amp are you digging these days? Oh, it's good to see you, Staley. I play the Z most of the time. Just being honest. Z is my favorite out of the 3 I have that I use. But it's not my best amp. I'll tell you, 2 days ago, Aaron was calling me. And I feel bad. He'll understand why, but I saw him ring and I was deep into a real real like session. You know how sometimes you pick up a guitar and you think like, I got like 10, 15 minutes to myself. I just want to play and enjoy this and kind of just like take my mind off of the stress that I'm going through, right? I picked up the Strat and I plugged into the Music Man. And it was around 4:30. So I knew I had to cook dinner soon. I put the amp like right almost where the sweet spot is. And it's a very loud amplifier. And I just was in love. The sound from that Music Man, it's just so loud. But he called, I saw it ringing, and I was just like, you are crazy if you think I'm putting this guitar down and I'm going to answer that phone call. I called him afterwards. But, man, this amp is to die for, the Music Man. And it's funny because, you know, it's a hybrid amp. It's not a pure tube amp. It's not the brand new, newest thing. Not hand-wired. But it's the best. It's so good. It's just not practical. It's not practical. The only reason I purchased the Custom Shop Strat was because they gave me $1,000 discount. Can't walk away from that. Dude, that's why when I saw the Seafoam, the foamy green Custom Shop in the exact color I wanted, with no Journeyman relic wear on it, it's a time machine finish, and then the big neck, and I was like $2,300. You serious? Mint has all the paperwork, it was the NAMM show guitar. I was like, say no more, because I see what's offered now new for more than that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm still taking that one all day. So yeah, you get it. That's the thing. You get in with the right price of the right thing that you want. You don't know when it's going to pop back up again. Lots of good stuff up there. Really wish PRS would bring back the jade green, teal black, or emerald green with the black back to their color lineups. I know they took Trampus out because it was fading. The jade green was pretty nice. The emerald green held up pretty well. I know people that have emerald green guitars from the 90s that are still pretty vibrant. Like, they still look good. So yeah, you know what? You're right. I don't know why they got rid of that finish. That's a nice finish. Huh. I forgot it existed. That's a good one. Does anyone else consider passing down their instruments to their children when deciding whether or not to purchase an instrument? I'm starting to. I already have one that is 100%. I have two, actually, that are going to my daughter. One that's going to go to my wife. You know, God praying that I'm the first one to go out of the three of us. That's the ideal scenario here for, you know. Anyway, that's dark. I'm going to leave the Jazzmaster for my wife. But for my kid, that purple Mustang I built, that's hers. That's hers. And the Jaguar that I bought her, the classic vibe, that's hers. I don't play that guitar on the channel because it's not my guitar. It's not my guitar. So, going forward, I don't know. Like, if I was really going to make a serious investment in something, that would come into my thoughts, but I wouldn't be a deciding factor. Shout out to the other person who voted for 1,000. Stay frugal. Okay, let's see what you guys voted on here. 24 votes. What's the most you would ever spend on an electric guitar? 12% say 1,000. 38% say 2,500. That seems like the sweet spot for a lot of people. 25% say $4,000, and 25% no limit if the guitar was right. That's very interesting. That is very interesting. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer to it. I really don't. Hold on. Sorry, this thing is really lagging out on me. My internet, it looks like it's doing okay as far as the stream goes. I'm getting the yellow warning sign of death. So if it's stuttering, I apologize. But what's happening right now is it looks like the chat isn't moving at all. And then it's just like a burst of like 15 messages pop up on my screen at once. So I'm going to do my best to try and not miss any that you guys may have typed. Okay, yeah, no, I did ask you about that, the S2. You don't remember which S2 you played, but it was a lot fatter. Okay, if it was a lot fatter than you expected, you played a McCarty 594. That's the only S2 that has a fat neck on it. And it's asymmetrical as well. So it's not like a rounded 50s neck you would find on a Gibson, for example. It's a totally different feel on it. So perhaps that might be the reason why you didn't get on with it. But for a little more than 25 grand, Greg says, you can get each of the top 3 guitars from both Gibson and Fender Custom shops and be done with it. 6 classic great guitars were by a used 8-year-old used truck. Depends if you want a custom shop. Like, I like that custom shop. I don't want to, it always comes back to the Jaguar. I don't want a Fender Custom Shop Jaguar. For the amount of money that a Fender Custom Shop Jaguar would cost me, I could buy a freaking vintage one. There's just, the price proposition doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So I just assume buy the vintage one at that point. Because they're not making any more of those. Guess what they're going to continue to make? 1 billion custom shop Jaguars. But I could see your argument for that. I'd rather just have the one like perfect one though. Like the real problem becomes when you amass like really good stuff that you got for good prices. Getting rid of so much. Just being like letting go, so to speak. Especially the ones that have sentimental value. Because I was always pretty good about that. I was only really sentimental about my white Strat. Forever. I sold everything else, basically. And then the Dove is a very sentimental guitar because my father. The Jazzmaster is probably the most sentimental guitar now because of my wife. And yeah, there's a few of them. Like the Albatross is a very sentimental guitar because, you know, I just feel like I had this deep connection with Japan, and you know, just being there and just knowing that those people, and then the whole thing with Mamos, and now he's passed on, he's not with us anymore, and and then the other JV, the Telecaster, it's as old as I am. 41. Yeah, it's tough. My point is, it's tough. It's tough to get rid of things at that point. What string action do you prefer? Do you care when it's a bit too low and your guitar is buzzing a bit? No, as long as it's coming through the amp somewhat clean and I can play thumb over. I want it as low as I want, and I want almost no neck relief. Just a style of funk that I play. I don't care about lead playing. So if I'm fretting out, trying to bend, you know, a step and a half up, a semitone and a half up on the B string around the 15th fret, that doesn't bother me. I don't care. I'll take the trade-off of having the action lower across the board just because I'm sliding. Personal preference. I like as little relief in the neck as I can get away with. And, yeah. Very different from a lot of people. You nailed it. I'll admit that's front of my mind when you buy a PRS. They are better at that than the other brands. Find a marketable way to get people to buy more than what you need. It's true, though. Like, PRS figured it out better than anybody. They really did. They really did. They get you in with the SE, and it's good. They don't get you in with the SE, and you're like, this is a piece of crap. Like, you're like, oh, this is pretty good. And then you play the S2, and you're like, well, this is definitely better than that. And then you play the core, and you're like, oh, it's so much better. But it's you're talking about the law of diminishing returns, or you know. And at what point is enough enough? At what point? Because then you could argue, you go to the wood library after that. That probably have a little 2-3% extra, or you went the way that somebody else went and here went. You go all the way private stock. They got you. They got you. And you're right. Out of all the brands, they're the ones that have the best system at it. They could cross the tiers. How are you, sir? How are things in Ukraine? I'm not sure if buying an expensive instrument is a good thing unless you try owning lots of them and know exactly what your preferences are. Yeah, you don't want to just buy expensive thing for the sake of having an expensive thing. And that goes outside of the scope of just musical instruments. That's just not smart. I agree with you. That happened to you. You love your CEs, especially that 2408 one you showed off earlier this year, but damn, that gold kidney is dreaming of owning a core. They get you. Well, what is one of the core ones on sale for? Let's see here. We're talking about PRS. In case you missed it, these are the same guitar. Keep this in mind, fellas. Ladies and gentlemen, don't buy blue. The satin standard 24 is $3,000. I had that one up. And that's got the DMOs. That's pretty cool. Let's do 24. Oh, wait. We'll see if it pops up from the search. Ah, what do you know? That's the finish. Oh, that's a good price. The CE2408, the Swamp Ash version. I had the one with the flame mahogany top on it. That's only $1,800. That's not bad. 4710. Okay, that's a 10 top. So the non-10 top 2408 is $4,000 right now on the sale. Yeah, it looks like it's $4,000. What color does he got this thing in? Carol Brew wraparound burst, charcoal wraparound burst, and black gold. 7 pounds 12, 7 pounds 10, 7 pounds 4. That's the light one. Oh, that is the good neck. Pattern regular. 42 millimeter nut. That's the same one that comes on the CE22. That's the one that feels very close to a Fender neck. Feels very close to a Fender neck. Ah, interesting food for thought. Okay, let's go out of here. I'll try and catch up as best as I can, but I got to wrap up in a few minutes. You've got 2 CEs and a Mark Holcomb SE. Very nice. Oh, I just mentioned those guitars. J-Sauce, you got one of the newer CE22s, finally found a PRS you like. What do you like about it? Tell me what you like about it. Is it the neck? I think it's the neck. That's a very familiar feeling neck. That pattern regular, if you're used to playing Fender guitars. Very easy adjustment. Much easier to get used to that than the pattern thin, in my opinion. Okay, a lot of retracted messages. You've either gotten in trouble or you've done something that you weren't approving of. Or somebody deleted it. I think there's a mod in here. The CE22s are way better. Oh, the CE22 was way better. You're not saying they are way better as a whole here than the CE24s. I understand what you're saying. Hi, Cyril. What am I listening to these days? Today we were listening to Mon Laferte. If you have no idea who that is, I apologize, but she's fantastic. What a voice. What a freaking voice on that woman. She's from Chile. Unbelievable singer. Unbelievable singer. Older stuff. My wife and I were actually just talking about that because we were listening to her in the kitchen before we started. And she's like, have you listened to any of the new stuff? And I was just like, yeah, I don't think you'd like it. Got really modern. But just an excellent, excellent singer. And, man, just so talented. So talented. That's what I was most recently listening to. I agree about limiting how many guitars you love and play regularly. Most of my guitars are utilitarian, but I have openly... You have only a few you love and you won't get rid of. Yeah. I have a few that are really borderline. That's where things get sketchy. I have a few that are borderline. Like the Super Thin Line Deluxe Telecaster is a borderline guitar for me. I love that guitar. And I know I couldn't buy one again, like not that way. But at the same time, if you're asking me to pick between that and some of the other ones, I'm like, I don't know. I like it. I really like it. I don't know if it's a lifer yet, though, but I've had it for 2 years. That's a long time for me these days, considering I've become content man on YouTube. Not many guitars stick around this long, so it's obviously it's pretty good. Ooh, pattern regular neck. Yes, that's correct. And yeah, that's what you like about it. Okay, good. Yeah, that's what I figured. That makes sense. The NF3 is the only PRS neck that you've gotten along with. Everyone you don't gel with. Yeah, the NF... That one's the most bolt-like for obvious reasons. It feels the most like an old 52 style U. Well, now they don't make a 52 reissue Fender, do they? Make a 51. Same idea here. It's chunky. It's chunky. It's a good feeling neck if you like it. Do y'all like the new pickup rings for their new SEs? I don't pay attention to things like that. They're different. How are they different? Are they just the core ones, or are they like a different color or something like that? I don't know. I didn't notice that. The CE22 neck wasn't quite for you. You liked the Studio's neck better and wanted something different from two humbucker guitars. There you go. Oh man, I heard my dog going ballistic. Could you type her name? Yeah. Song. Look for a song called Amor. It'll be a live performance. I believe it was actually like MTV Latin America did it, but it's a huge thing. Look for the performance of Amor, and that's one of the best ones. I'll link another one that's just you see this woman sing and you're just like, man, she gets it. Like she's incredible. I'm going to link the actual video to the live performance in Bibo. Share, copy. And this is for Tu Falta de Querer. All right. Fantastic. Fantastic performance. Real soul in her voice. You don't hear it very often. You hear a lot of fake stuff. And you can tell when it's fake. Even if somebody's got talent, you can tell when there's not like a passion and like a real meaning in what they're singing. This woman's the real deal. She's the real deal. 5815 pickups are great. I like the neck pickup. Not a fan of the bridge pickup. Not a fan of the bridge pickup. I'd throw it out for a 5708. That would be like aces. A CE22 with the 58 in the neck and a 57 in the bridge. Be very balanced. All right. Custom platinum finish, strong Silverchair 90s vibes. Yeah. Silverchair, what a band. Wide thin, pattern thin, not for you, and that's 85% of our instruments. Unfortunately, you are correct. Although wide thin, those are only for the SEs, to be fair. They don't make those on the core guitars anymore, unless you specifically ask for it on a custom order. It's all pattern thin at that point. Someone pointed it out to me, and now I always stand out to me. I'm a fan. You're not a fan of the new rings. Oh, that's interesting. We've gotten to pickup rings, which is funny because I have a demo for a guitar tomorrow. I filmed all the playing. I got to do the yapping. So I got to do that tonight. But I mentioned that because the only thing I want to change on the guitar are the pickup rings. Not because of like the height or anything. I just feel like design choice wise, the color that they picked doesn't go as well as what I think it should have come with rather. But we'll see what that is tomorrow. However, we'll check out the final results of the poll and then we're out of here. Again, man, that's that one McCarty. That one McCarty. It's the link to it is in the description of this video for $3,400. That's unbelievably good. I'll be shocked if that's still around by tomorrow. What's the most you would ever spend on an electric guitar? 16% say 1,000. That's the fewest votes. No limit if the guitar was right. 19%. Second fewest. 4,000, 26%, and 2,500. 40% of you guys, 39%. So the majority, which is basically kind of where I topped out. So it is what it is. Thank you guys for hanging out today. Hope you all have a wonderful day. And I will see you tomorrow on a video. And then maybe Saturday, but definitely Sunday. Because we got something to do with actually recording guitar. Not just gear stuff. So it'll be fun. Hope you learned something. Take care. Thanks, Dale. Have a great weekend.